I grew up in Los Angeles.
Northern Ontario.
I grew up here in Victoria.
I was born and raised in Surrey, British Columbia.
Construction worker, actually.
There was a lot of different things I wanted to be. I wanted to be a hockey player, in the food and beverage business.
I always wanted to be a sports athlete of some sort, was my dream and goal.
Very young, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And I eventually wanted to become a journalist. And that's any kind of goals or wanting to grow up and be something kind of stopped at around the age of 14 or 15. The first time I used, I think I was around 14. I just wanted to go with the flow, like I just wanted to be accepted, really. So I think if there was a why, it was because, it's cliche, but like because everyone else was doing it.
When I was 11 years old.
What kind?
Heroin.
Started out with marijuana, to LSD, to heroin.
In the beginning, when I was just 14, I was just recreationally smoking pot with my friends, thinking it was a social thing and what kids did when they were that age, and thought it was all fun and harmless. And then when I was 17, I started using heroin because my father passed away.
I got to the point where I was drinking and abusing prescription drugs on a regular basis. I had lost a job. I had lost jobs. I was starting to drop out of school. I had stopped pretty much eating. So at this point, I was very close to dying. I was drinking probably 2 sixes a day of vodka. And relying on prescription medication.
I stole from my friends, I stole from my family. I robbed, stole. I was just not a nice guy.
My family and friends stopped having anything to do with me completely. In the beginning, they tried to help me, and they tried to do what they could to make me better, so to speak. And because of the things I did to them, they slowly started to disappear, and I lost all my friends, and for the most part, most of my family stopped associating with me. By the end of it, I pretty much lost contact and relationships with all of them.
And I'll never forget the night that I decided to use alcohol to numb the pain. I started drinking every day. I was a bartender, so I had, access to that. And I still managed to keep it together, because you have to remember, like, I've been an addict for like my entire life, so I got really good at like hiding it and being manipulative and like looking like I had it together, where on the inside, like, everything was just a mess. And I got loaded one last time, and that last time my sister came to my door and she told me that a very close friend of mine had just died from a drug overdose, and that I was going to be next. And she walked out that door. And I had never picked up again. I've been clean for just a little over 2.5 years, and I'll be 34 this year.
I've been clean for about a year and a half now.
Recovery's not easy. If recovery was easy, everybody would be clean.
You're always addicted, you never really aren't.
It's recovery, not recovered, because it's a lifelong thing.
Recovery is actually a lifelong process. It just doesn't stop. Like, just because you got 15 or 14 years clean doesn't mean you're recovered. The process of recovery goes on forever.
I've had more fun in recovery than I ever have, and it sounds a little bit cliched, but I have actual fun.
A lot of people, I feel like, don't understand how this disease, addiction, completely takes people over. and controls all your thinking and is completely a mental health illness. It's something you're born with, and it's something that you are unable to control. I cannot control the addiction inside of me by myself. It is impossible, and it takes me over, and it turns me into a different person. And I feel like a lot of people who sit on their high horse and don't understand what it is, it's simple as saying, well, stop using drugs, stop doing it, just stop. And it's kind of like telling a cancer patient to stop being sick.
I think one of the biggest things that people don't understand that it's a disease. You have to face the fact that this person has the disease of addiction, and like there's no cure for it, and all we can do to arrest it is try and work up a diligent program of recovery.
People tend to sort of stigmatize folks who are experiencing addiction. These are actually people who are abusing alcohol or people that are abusing drugs, because to call someone an addict or an alcoholic labels them, and we don't want to label anyone. We want to see the individual who's experiencing a problem.
If it comes up, I will say that I am an addict. If it makes people uncomfortable, good, because then they can look at that, and hopefully next time they hear that, they'll be like, yeah, that other girl said that she was too, and it doesn't look like the way that I think it looks, and that's really important to me. I have a family that was able to help me through my education. I have a car, I have a roof over my head, I have the most wonderful family, the most wonderful friends, and I live in this beautiful city, and there's people out there that are struggling on a daily basis, and their lives are on the line every single day. Why did I make it out? I understand survivor's guilt that way. And so I want people to know that, like, as much as I'm saying the junkie on the street is not me, this is what addiction looks like too. It also looks like that. And at one point in time, if somebody had plucked me up out of my bedroom and sat me next to that person on the street, no one would be able to tell the difference. You know, addicts are pilots, addicts are doctors, addicts are lawyers, addicts are people that don't have homes. It does not discriminate.
It's not biased, it doesn't care who you are, where you came from, how much money you have, how much money you don't have, who your parents are, who your girlfriend is, who your boyfriend is. It doesn't care. It'll take you over just the same as it takes over anybody else. I don't think there's anybody on this planet that doesn't have somebody that's in their life and somehow affected by addiction.
I want to let addicts out there know that the stigma is lessening, and there are people that are standing like this going, I'm here, I will listen to you, and I will help, and that includes me.
Removing the stigma from addiction is something that I'm very, very, very passionate about, because I let my addiction go on a lot longer than I had to, because I was so embarrassed by it and did not want to tell anybody, did not want to let anyone know. I figured being sick and living an absolute miserable life was better than anyone finding out, because I felt like there was nothing worse than people finding out who I truly was. And I just hope that somehow, some way, that can be changed for people in the future, because it's very miserable and it's very sad that people have to go through that, because it's really not their fault, and I didn't understand that for a long time.
And if you're a student here at a university, if you work in a hospital, if you are in a union, if you work for the government, they have access to people that can help you. There's a huge recovery community in Victoria. We are beyond lucky at how big it is. And one more thing, the recovery community in Victoria, the young people's community is huge. I'm talking people and youths, teenagers and in their 20s by the hundreds. We have like youth rallies and like all sorts of like youth activities. And if you feel like you've got a problem with any of these things, like you have a whole community waiting with open arms for you. You just have to be willing to reach out and find it.